The Elden Ring DLC Shadow of the Erdree has been out now for about a week, and it has had some somewhat mixed review with players, which is odd because every other FromSoft DLC has been highly regarded, sometimes even more so than the base game, and Elden Ring itself has a very positive rating on Steam. So why the bad reviews? Why are people rage quitting the DLC? Is this DLC just not as good as the other FromSoft DLCs? I think the reason for the division of players that think the DLC is good and those that think it is bad is a bit more complicated than simply, is it good or is it bad? The first part is that a lot of players, Elden Ring was their introduction to FromSoft games, so they were probably not prepared or simply just didn't know that FromSoft DLCs are turned up to 11 and are notorious for being significantly harder than the base game. So I think a lot of these players went into the DLC expecting it to be more Elden Ring, and while it was that, the DLC also very quickly reminds you that the training wheels are off. Even as a previous no-hit runner and a Souls veteran myself, I found parts of this DLC excruciatingly painful, and there were parts where, while I didn't rage quit, I definitely had to take a step away, otherwise I was probably going to break something. I found myself in Mesmer's Arena with only a Skadu Blessing of 6, and I beat my head up against the boss for several hours. I eventually got him down, but that was after several painstaking hours and a lot of lost sleep. I was speaking to someone in my Discord, and they told me my Skadu Blessing was extremely low, and the fact that I had even made it to Mesmer and killed him was pretty insane. It was after this conversation that I realized something pretty important that I had forgotten about FromSoft games. And no, it's not the importance of Skadu Blessings, albeit those are pretty important. They're actually so important that FromSoft recently buffed them as players were not utilizing them as much as they should. But no, it wasn't the Skadu Blessings, but something that has been in FromSoft games from the beginning. It was told to us in Dark Souls 1, with the catacombs being right next to Firelink Shrine. It was told to us in Dark Souls 2, with the first Pursuer boss fight. In Elden Ring, with the Tree Sentinel being right outside the starting area. And the lesson that I had forgotten was, just because you can go somewhere doesn't mean that you should. What I mean by this is that FromSoft is pretty notorious for putting very hard enemies at the beginning of the game or very hard areas at the beginning of the game. And most players come to the understanding that, hey, I'm supposed to come back and not push my way through this because these enemies are way too hard. For example, if you happen to wander into Caelid in the base game or accidentally take the teleporter chest at a low level, you would realize very quickly you are not supposed to be in this area yet. The Shadow of the Erdree hammers this point home with basically every area that you go to. Some areas will start off easy with relatively easy and manageable enemies and then get significantly harder, or you'll run into a boss that's basically impossible for you to kill, and you're meant to come back. You're not meant to push your way through, you're meant to, explore around. And I think this is where a lot of players are getting tripped up. Very simply, if you're getting your ass handed to you in a particular area, just leave and come back. Get some Skadu Blessings, maybe get a new spell or weapon, or maybe just refine your skills on easier enemies and then come back to the harder content. It's very easy to wander into places that you really shouldn't be yet in the DLC. And a lot of players, myself included, think, well, I have a maxed out character, I should be able to take this area, right? Wrong. The progression in Shadow of the Erdree is a zigzag, not a straight line. You're meant to go do some of an area and maybe circle back and come back once you're stronger. That's just how the game is meant to be played. Sure, you can push past and brute force your way through the harder areas with low Skadu Blessings, maybe not the best weapons, but why not just do the easier content and come back when you're stronger? I think had From Software driven this point home more, there probably would have been less rage quits. I honestly think that the Skadu Blessings was a bit of an oversight. The way that they were supposed to function was if you had played Sekiro, the prayer beads very similarly. The problem with that is that Sekiro had a very linear progression, whereas Shadow of the Erdree does not. Overall, though, I'm having a blast with the DLC. I think a lot of the bosses are hard, but fair, and areas only feel oppressive if you're like me and you sit on a low Skadu Blessing. If you ever played DS2, think of the Skadu Blessings as the Shadow of the Erdree's version of ADP. You'll want to get it to a decent level so you can play the game as intended. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, as it does really help with the YouTube algorithm. I make weekly content on various gaming topics, gaming news, things like that. So until next time, have a great day/night. See ya.